Hello everybody, this is John Hardy with you once again, bringing to you great conversations in the life of business. Today I want to talk to you about the easiest job in the world and introduce to you Frank DeFilippo, who is a deputy head in his local school. In Australia, as we would call it, a deputy principal. It's great to have you in the studio.
Thanks,
really cool. Sorry, I mean into the structure of the circle around its out. Hit my tongue. I could
See that big goal.
as well as understanding the dynamics of.
I want to ask you a question today.
This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so that you can do business better. Hello everybody, it's great to be back with you once again. This is John Hardy on opportunities to help you do business better. And I do interviews, and today in the studio I've got Frank DeFilippo, who is a deputy head in a local school. And Frank, it's the easiest job in the world, isn't it?
Some days.
And of course, we're going to get into that a little bit more about the dynamic of your role and what you actually do. And we're going to talk about an area of staff and how you as a leader work with that, and as we've had those kind of conversations.
Yes.
But before we do that, tell us a little bit about Frank, who he is and what he's about.
Thanks, John. I've been Deputy Principal at Southern River College now for about 3 years. I've been involved in the Student Services section of the school, as well as looking after staff. I've now transitioned into a different role of timetabling operations and HR, so that's caused a different dynamic. But it's been very challenging and very rewarding.
So tell us a little bit more about student services, because that's sometimes we have our own language.
Sure.
And I know what that is, and it's quite a dynamic part of the school. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, student services is predominantly pastoral care of students,
Yes.
looking after their welfare, social and emotional, sometimes psychological. So we've got student counsellors, we've got school psychs, we've got an Aboriginal education worker, we've got year coordinators working in that space, nurse, a whole range of people that can help and complement kids at school.
And it's an interesting area because it's not overly straightforward, is it?
No, it does involve outside agencies, CPFS and other agencies like CAMS. So you're dealing with people that are outside the school, external but very important to the child, the life of them at home and family dynamics.
Yeah, and sometimes it's quite complicated.
Sometimes it's very challenging, sometimes it can be very confronting.
Yes.
People that go into that kind of area of the school are very caring people normally. They want the best for every child, and sometimes they internalise a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that they don't fail in their duty towards the child.
So what was one of the joy moments in that role, and what was one of the challenging moments in that role?
I think without doubt the joy moments are when you see students succeed,
Yeah.
when you see them come back and thank you for the interventions that you've put in place and the friendships and the kind of bonds that you have. My social workers, for instance, are very good in that. Their youth techniques that they employ are very instrumental in helping students see them in a different light and helping them engage at school. I think the challenging part is about just making sure you get the right kind of message across to the child to make sure that they're supported.
Because it's about education, isn't it?
It's about education and getting the child engaged in education,
Yeah.
which is the way that they can improve their life and in a way that they can grow and contribute.
So tell us about your new role.
My new role is very different. It's about HR, it's about human resources, so it's about staffing issues in the school. It's also about timetabling, being able to offer those opportunities for students to choose different subjects or a range of subjects that the school can cater for.
So why has this happened that you've actually had a change of role?
I think it's been important for me that I've reassessed where I'm going and what I want to achieve. I've been in student services now for about 20 years in various roles, and I think now is a time for some sort of change, a challenge, also to look at complexities in a different way of how I can provide some vision for the school.
Great, excellent. Now we've been working together for a couple of years,
Yes,
haven't we?
yes.
So tell us a little bit about our viewers a little bit about that journey.
Sure.
And we've been working a lot on how you've interacted and been leading your staff and your team.
So I think you've come along at a good time for me, where I've had to reassess a few things in my life and my career, and it's helped in looking at that. It's helped in having a mentor and a coach where I could just raise some issues and some concerns I might have, and you've been able to extrapolate certain things out of that and be able to challenge me to go further, to challenge myself, to set some personal goals and some professional goals, and that's really helped.
Yeah. So we've touched on that. So the dynamic of your leadership with people,
Yep.
tell me about what's been the challenging areas for you in that space, that where you were and where you've been working towards growing.
Well, people are people.
Yes.
So there are different complexities with each person. So there's different baggage, if you like, with each person that you've really got to know the person.
Yeah.
The trust factor is very important, as we've spoken about, being genuine, being transparent as much as you can, and gaining their trust and their allegiance, if you like, to do the job as well as they can. I think that's the key thing about being genuine and being true to yourself. And that's helped me in being able to form those positive relationships where I'm able to speak into people's lives.
Now, no, we don't want to go into names because we don't want to do that, but pick a topic that we've talked about, and that is, how do I do, when we've had those conversations, you've come and said, John, how do I do this?
Sometimes it's about moving people forward. Sometimes they're stuck in a rut. So I've asked you some questions about that at times, about challenging those people. It's those hard conversations, I guess,
Yes.
you have to have.
Yes.
It's about being able to know that the person is supported and that you're supporting the person, and that that person can trust you in moving forward. And I think that's the key to many of those difficult conversations that I've had to have with my team.
So prior to that, how did you actually do difficult conversations?
Not very well. So there have been times when I think I could have handled things differently, and I think it's been able to take the personal part of it out of it and see it as a job, but also that you're trying to invest in the other person rather than them saying no to you and being difficult to work with.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get those people that are difficult to work with, but you've been able to develop those bonds and being able to say, hey, this is what I think you need to be doing,
Yeah.
and this is the direction, and I'm here to support and help.
Yeah, because I remember I was just thinking back way back when in that original team, and we talked about even the layout of where everybody was in the
Sure,
team.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you worked that dynamic out for your team to get the best out of them.
Yeah, again, it depends on the space, and one of the things I try to do is make sure that people were comfortable in their little areas where they were working, to make sure that they were able to interact in a positive way with the students and with the staff, to be able to empower them in many ways about their position within the school. I've also been able to provide them with opportunities, and I think that's been a key too, that they've had to grow as well in opportunities that are there, and to embrace those.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking of a couple of people in the room, and you've seen them from grow through various stages in their own career. So what do you think you've done to help them confront some of their challenges?
I think you'd lead by example. I think we've said that many times. You lead by example, and you show that you're there for them. You spend time with them, one-on-one as a team,
Yep.
but also one-on-one, to make sure that they are feeling supported, and I'm hearing them. It's not like a performance management situation where it's very technical and signed a piece of paper. It's about hearing them and hearing what their frustrations and concerns are. And at times it's about being able to step into that role too for them and to help them, because at times they are very unsure of the department regulations, or unsure about how to deal with certain difficult parents. So being able to be there, being able to support them, and at times take the lead.
So let's talk about Frank and how he's grown as a leader in this time that we've been working on. And we've regularly had not only the conversation about staff, but we've also had a conversation about Frank the leader. So where were you a couple of years ago with your awareness of leadership?
Oh, I think at a very basic level, I could say that. I think I've been able to grow in that sphere. It hasn't come easy. There's been some challenges along the way. There's been some disappointments, if you like, John. But I think I've been able to rebound very quickly, or resilient, to rebound into that space a bit better. It's also about leading up and leading down.
Yes.
And sometimes leading up is very difficult because you are in a space that you're not familiar with and you're challenging your leader, and you need to do that respectfully and with a bit of courtesy. So it's been, in both ways, it's been very good for me. I think I've been able to get rid of some of the baggage that I carried with me as well, and that's been very positive because, again, kind of internalise some of the frustrations and the hurts you may go through as a leader and take things personally, and I certainly have.
And that's the case for all of us as leaders, isn't it? So, you know, a lot of people are going to be listening to us. How would you begin to help them become aware that you've actually got baggage that you need to deal with?
Oh, I think it's about reflection. It's about just soul searching a bit too, and when things go wrong, to have a think about how you could have done it better, how you could probably have a confidant, someone that you can actually speak to, that's external, that's able to lay it on the line a bit, although it might hurt, but to be able to tell you that you went the wrong way about that, you've taken it differently than what was expected. I think all of those things help you grow. Certainly I'm no way finished in my journey and I've got a long way to go, but I'm still trying to learn as much as I can from you and from others. Yeah,
because we've had interesting conversations in the coffee shop and you've asked me questions and I've reflected back something to you, and that's kind of times taken your breath away. You said, I wasn't expecting that. How do you then deal with that? Because you've taken it away and you've thought about it, because you know, I really do have to deal or grow or develop or strategize in that space.
I think for me it's been about percolating the idea and just being able to think it through. I haven't taken everything you've said. I've had to kind of take bits at a time because I don't think I could have done everything I might have wanted to do. I needed to do it in chunks at different times during that period, and that's helped me grow and then come back to other bits that I didn't feel comfortable in being challenged at the time.
I like the fact that you took quite extensive notes. And you know I encourage you to do that. So I ask all my clients to bring a coaching journal to tell me the power of having the conversation, but actually reflecting information or insights that you then get that you can take away with you.
Well, I need to write things down. I need to be able to see it later and be able to go through it in my own mind. But I also need to see the growth that I've had from the very beginning until where we're at. And so that's been very positive for me. Some things we've had to go over and over again, but that's just me not being able to get to the point where I needed to actually put it in action. Because dealing with people can be quite difficult, and I find it quite challenging for myself to do that. So the coaching journal that I've been writing, it's been very helpful for me.
So we're in a school, and the school education system is quite structured. How have you grown to not let the structure restrict you, but actually deal with staffing issues to lead them, and for you as a leader to grow?
Well, I've got a very supportive principal, and that certainly helped because she's given me the scope where I can move into a different space. And I think without that support, I think I would have been restricted. So that's been important. I think I've also been able to challenge myself and push a bit further along and get out of that comfort zone that I was in, and that's kind of helped. I think that reflection with you has also helped as well, saying that I'm going on the right track, or I could have done things a little bit differently. But certainly a supportive leadership group, my other deputies and the principal have been very encouraging.
So what do you think the place where you're in right now in doing major transition from 20 years in a particular role within the education system, and you can do that well, to now being moved into a new area where you probably don't have those skills or awareness yet. So what's the big area of challenge in that space?
I think the skill set is one of the big ones. I think being able to relearn things that you haven't had time to look at in the past because you're in a different role. I think having that person also coming alongside, so the people that I'll be leaning on to get some of their insights, that will be helpful. but I think it's a new dynamic that I'm walking into.
So tell me what those roles are again, and what the challenges for you in that space are like. Timetabling.
So I haven't done timetabling in the past, so again I'm leaning on other people that have done it. So timetabling is looking at the numbers in the school and working out what's available for the upper school and the lower school, looking at options and looking at what the department are expecting from schools to deliver in the time restraints. It's also about HR, looking at staffing and the needs of the school and what type of staff to employ. It's about looking at also areas of relief staff that we have in the school. It's about supporting them. It's about also getting the pay correct. A whole range of things
to do. Don't they?
Well, it's a whole range of stuff about making sure that people are paid accordingly.
Yeah.
So it's human resources, and again, I've never been in that space.
Okay.
So it is new.
Great. So, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how daunting is it for you to actually not have enough skills to step into that space?
Oh, I'd say about a 7.
Okay.
So
it's fairly high.
Well, it is, because
Yeah.
I'm just seeing the challenges in front of me, and I don't like. I probably like to be a bit innovative as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be just rehashing things.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm doing and also introduce something new. Doing things in a different way is what I would like to do.
Okay. So why is that? What's the...
Oh, I think I need to put on my own kind of flavour into the actual role. I think each of us has a different bend on what we want to do and how we want to structure things. I think I'd like to be more out there with the staff as well, being able to support them in a different way. And take on some of the things that the staff are concerned about. Take on some of the challenges that they feel the school is going through at the moment, and being able to raise that with my leaders.
Because the school is going through quite a major lift, isn't it?
It is.
So the principal has said this is the business plan.
Yes.
And she's then said, right, and all the school, you've all got to create your own learning area plans.
Sure. Yep.
And there's an expectation. So tell us, what role do you play in helping deliver that?
Well, certainly I've got to be mindful of what the business plan is and exactly the direction the principal is taking for the school. And the principal has consulted with the deputies, so it's not something we don't know. But the school has gone through a big shift over the last 5 years. And again, the opportunities at the school are now more immense than ever before. So working with the other deputies in their portfolios is going to be a key for me too, because that translates into the timetable. Exactly what's been offered in the direction the school is going for, as well as the amount of staff that might be working in student services or working around the school in different roles. That all comes back into my field about how I can make it happen with the budget that's been given.
So we've titled this interview, "The Easiest Job in the World."
Yes, and it is.
So tell us a little bit about the joys of that, but also the challenges of that role.
Teaching is not one that you go into to get high pay.
Okay.
So you're there because you want to contribute, make a difference to a child's life, make a difference to education, and further where the children have to go or children want to be. But it's also about supporting staff and helping them get to where they need to be. So I think from that point of view, I think I've been very challenged. I've been very mindful of my role, and some days I don't think I make a difference. Some days you walk away from school and you drive home and you think, what did I do today? How did I change, or how did I add to the school, and how did I benefit other students? And at times it's hard to answer. Over a long period of time, you do see that. You do see students come back and be thankful. You do see opportunities that have arisen during your time doing particular roles, and I think that's very rewarding, internalising. Very rewarding.
Well, one of the interesting things is you've got a former head student, and what's happened to him?
Well, he's come back to the school.
Yes.
So he's come back to teach phys ed at the school. So he's been quite thrilled to be back at the school and to be able to be part of the team.
So what does that say about people like yourself in the role of leadership, that here is a generation being influenced? What does it say of the importance for you as a leader in what you're really trying to do?
I think he wouldn't have come back if he didn't see opportunity and growth in the school.
Yeah.
And I think if he had seen the school where it was when he was there, I think he might have been a little bit sort of reticent. But I think now that he sees the direction the school is going into, the opportunities that are there for staff and students, I think he's quite keen, and he was quite keen to rejoin the staff and be a staff member there. And we have a number of staff that have come back and are teaching at the school after being former students, including the principal, of course.
Really? I didn't know that. So tell me about you. How important is it for you to really be across yourself as a leader if you've got that kind of potential for you in a school that has been challenged previously and is doing so much better now?
Oh, I think there are honest conversations within the leadership group that need to be having.
Yes.
So I know exactly where we're going as well, and we can work out what the school needs and where the school needs to go to within 1 year or 3 years through the business plan. I think that's really important for us.
It's interesting, isn't it? Here is a school, like any other business, has a business plan, and that has been divested across the whole spectrum.
It has.
And it is, how far does it go?
Well, normally 3 years ahead.
No, sorry. I mean, into the structure of the school. Does it go to the teachers?
Across to everyone. And again, it's the buy-in that we need from the staff. So we do have staff meetings where staff are able to look at the business plan, the leaders are able to look, the heads of department are able to look at the business plan and implement it in their learning area. So each learning area will have their own business plan, if you like.
So is it full of motherhood statements?
No, it's KPIs. So the KPIs are there for us to reach and also for the staff to reach. And again, they've got to be realistic, practical. They've got to be attainable, otherwise staff just see it as a motherhood statement and give it lip service.
And is it measurable?
Most of the KPIs are. It's all data driven.
Yes.
So it is.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? And using a very simple red, yellow, green measuring tool to see what's going on easily. So the school is a business and the business is a school. How does that impact businesses that are going to listening to us in this conversation? What would you say to them about what you've learnt as a leader, what you've learnt with your staff, and what you're learning now with where the school is going with a very clear focused direction?
Well, I think it all comes out of the data from within the school that drives where you have to go. And I think data and staff surveys, and we've done a tell 'em from me, from Fogarty, that's been very influential about what our community perceive the school to be, what our students see the school to be, as well as what the staff see the school to be. And I think that kind of data gives us a realistic look at where the school is currently at. And out of that data, we'll also develop that business plan to say this is where the school needs to transition into. We've also been able to help work on things that we thought we were quite good at, but in fact have been quite weak at.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that businesses, they talk metrics, they talk productivity, they talk profitability. So it's a really interesting dynamic that, one, you've got a business plan, it's divested across, you're looking for engagement, you've actually got measures in place that you can see how well are we doing, and it's reportable.
Yes.
And you're keeping people accountable.
Yes.
So as a leader, what kind of weight do you feel on you to really make sure you as a leader are doing your job in them?
Oh, I think it's there every day.
Yes.
You're reflecting every day about where you need to go and what you need to do. Being mindful of certain leaders within the school are not as strong as other leaders. So supporting them as well, making sure that they're across what the business plan is about, what the KPIs are about, being able to help them reach their goals.
So, having a coach in your room, tell me what the difference is of where you were 2 years ago, where you are now, and how that could help business people doing what we're doing.
I think you've been external to the school, so you haven't come with any preconceived ideas. And I think that certainly helps me. I think you also being a listening person has helped me kind of reflect a bit more. And also the regular meetings that we have, probably twice a term, have also helped me keep on track, because otherwise you can kind of just say, well, we'll do that next week, but it never happens. So that accountability from you has been very, very, very important for me.
So what would be something you would say to our viewers today about a lesson that you've learned that could be helpful for business people listening to you and I today?
Oh, I think having a coach has been really important for me. It's been important for our school as well, that I've been able to move forward and also been able to help people move forward. So many of the strategies you've used with me, John, I've used with other people. So that's been really important, and I think having an external person has helped.
It's been funny, actually, because there's a bit of a John Hardy comment that goes around the school, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There is. And they all know it's you.
Yes. Well, it's been a delight to have you,
Thank you, John,
in the studio with us today. A delight to share you with the world and let people know that the power of coaching works and that you are growing as a leader. Would you say that you've really seen yourself grow as a leader and as a person?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, both areas, as a leader and as a person.
Yeah, it's great. So, but delight to have you with us.
Thank
Delight
you,
to be able to do this interview because we want to help you as business leaders in whatever context you are in. So what we want you to do now is subscribe on the link below, and to make it really even easier is click on the bell, because then it gets pushed to you and it comes to you, and we do this regularly so you'll get great content to help you, because remember this, we're helping you do business better. Thank you for being with us once again. Sorry, I mean into the structure of the circle around the south, hit my target. I could see that big goal, as well as understanding the dynamics of. I want to ask you a question today. This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so you can do business better.
Well, I'm just listening to your show and you've just finished. What an interesting concept. Easiest job in the world, John.
No, it's not quite, is it, Frank?
No,
it really isn't.
It's interesting. From a business perspective, though, Frank, I was listening to what you're saying, and a lot of business owners, they're trying to define who their customers are all the time. And I'm looking at a school and going, gee, you've got your students, we talked about them and students coming back, but then you've got mum and dad. From a school's perspective, who do they really believe their customer is?
Both.
Both.
Especially the parents are the ones that choose which school. The parents are the ones that have that perception of the school, whether it's going to provide what the child needs. So you've got to be working with both. And one of our strategies is, of course, the marketing side of things, being able to get the name out, being able to talk to parents at the primary school, being able to offer opportunities at the school where parents can come in and visit.
And you do Facebook really well, don't you?
There's a great Facebook page that
fantastic.
we have there, and that's been very good. We've got lots of people that are on there all the time. We have the community newspaper out there all the time with different events. Our school, I think, is trying really hard to improve its image in the community.
Do you find that in business as well, John? Sometimes the customer, like the school children, in this case, it is the direct customer. Do you find in business sometimes that you've got one customer, but there's a layer underneath that business owners can also kind of learn from schools? Hey, there's customers behind those customers.
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes businesses only focus on the person who comes in the door who does that transaction. And yet we know the average person has at least 100 to 300 people who are around their life, every single person. And we sometimes as business forget that. And so a school develops a community. That's what they do really well. It's not, teacher teaching a student. There's a whole school community which is really quite dynamic and quite diverse. And I think if businesses can get a handle on the community dynamic that they are actually a part of, they can have amazing influence. Amazing.
It's you say community, and I agree with you on that. And I think this is where business lessons can be learned from organisations like schools on that. One thing that a lot of us in business, and you talked about your business plan, and I wonder how you develop the culture. You said the principal talks to the deputies, but who else gets involved in the culture of school? Obviously, you've changed this school along with the principal and the other deputies, really brought it up. Is there a culture you're trying to manifest within this school?
Oh, absolutely. There are different elements that you're trying to bring forward into the school. So it's about students, it's about community, it's about partnerships with the community. It's a whole range of things, and also about the teaching and learning style that you have in the school. So it can be a particular type of instruction that you're trying to bring into the school. It's about making sure that you come across all of it. Again, we've got 4, but we try not to do more than 4 because otherwise it becomes unmanageable and people lose sight of the key reason you're there, which is teaching.
Yeah. And you also have a very interesting thing called River.
Yes, the River Matrix.
The River Matrix. Tell us about the River Matrix. It's very powerful.
So the River Matrix is about the culture in the school, and it's about the standards we like, about the values that we support in the school, and that's been very good. That's been developed by the staff, and students have been involved as well as some of the parents. So that's been very important for us. Again, it's about the values that we hold dear.
I find that interesting that the students are involved, because the students are customers. You've got your customers involved in the culture that they want, the parents involved in the culture that they want. Do you find, John, that sometimes us as business owners can go to our customers like the schools do and go, hey, come on, how do you like us to
absolutely.
treat you?
Of course, we talk about that in business using surveys, and there's a car business in Perth, and often has a 2-page spread with feedback from customers to tell them how well or how badly they're doing, so they can actually continuous improvement. I think it's really powerful, and I not only do I have work at the school, I love the school. I'm on Facebook. I love the weekly statements that the school puts out all around the school. This is the theme for the week. Now, I can't remember them all, but I see them on a regular basis. So this school has not only got a plan, it's not just putting things upon the wall, which it's all over the place, the River program, but they're actually challenging the very detail and going to, in a sense, the minutiae of it to remind them this is important. So lifting the whole dynamic from the business plan right through to the values, and it's the dynamic of sharing it out, feeding it back, sharing it out, feeding it back, and it's lifting the very value and culture of this organisation, which is a school, which we can actually do in businesses and understand the power of communication. And they're doing it really well.
And that is a lot. You've got the River program and your culture around that. We hear in business a lot of time people say, look, if you can, I remember Ford Motor Company had a big sign on their wall, said culture, elite strategy for breakfast every day of the week. And I kind of agree with it. So from a school's perspective, how much time do you actually spend with each other focused on your culture so everyone understands, so we don't misinterpret what something means?
Well, I think probably not enough time, and that's just the nature of the school and the nature of the day. But certainly it's a regular thing where we have staff meetings that we talk about the culture of the school and we talk about embracing the culture. I think part of our sort of difficulty at the moment is that we've had so many new staff that haven't been part of the original focus, but we have to get them on board as well.
Yeah. Do you find sometimes people may hear something you say in your culture and misinterpret what they actually mean? I'm reminded of the IBM days when they said, respect for the individual. Eventually you couldn't get sacked because they said the sack someone was
yes, that's right.
It just went off the wall. But in schools, is it that they hear something sometimes, and as deputy heads and as principals, your job is to actually, what we actually mean by this?
Oh yeah, to clarify, absolutely.
Yeah.
As often as possible to get the message across. Yeah, and the same message.
When we talk about business, I always say to people, why should I deal with their business? I mean, I said, why would you deal with John? John's very good at reflecting. He asks these great questions. Ask you things that you may not ask yourself, either because you haven't thought of them or maybe because you don't want to.
Yeah, that's right, we do, absolutely.
For a parent, it may not be in Perth where we are, what would you say are a couple of questions they should ask of a school they're going to send their child to?
I think the pastoral care is very important. If the child is happy at the school, the child will succeed, and there won't be the other emotional parts that they have to go through. I think that is really important, to be able to connect with the school, to connect with the friends, and to be happy about themselves. I think that is the key.
Wonderful. Guys, I heard you interview.
No,
I thought it was
great.
Fantastic. I just wanted to jump in and ask some questions after the interview. I thought it was really good. Frank, that was fantastic.
Thank you. It was really good.
Frank Di Filippo, Deputy Head, easiest job in the world.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And once again, thank you everybody. We want to help you. So take these principles, apply them to what you're doing, and you will do business better. Into the structure of the circle around South Hikmatan. I could see that big goal, as well as understanding the dynamics of
I want to ask you a question today.
This is John Hardy giving you the business tip of the day so you can do business better.